he is the principal of the school in China, and he wanted the students to exercise and to move before starting to study. So every morning he takes them out and makes exercise with them. Do you like it? It's the shuffle dance. That's our beautiful globe, and in Asia we find China, remember? We're going back today to learn about the history of the first emperor. Today we're learning about Shi Huangdi, the first emperor of China.
He was only 13 years old. When King Zheng grew up, he conquered the 6 kingdoms surrounding Qin.
He conquered and annexed 6 bordering states,
And united them to form what we know today as China.
and he formed the first empire by uniting them, and he named himself the first emperor of the Qin Empire, and that's where China comes from.
Was a monumentous event in world history. The previous dynasties had been small and decentralized. So it was the Qin that really gave birth to the idea of China. From now on, dynasties would change. More periods of warring states would occur, but China as a unified culture would remain constant.
This was more than 2,000 years ago.
He was not just a king, but the Emperor of China, a title that lasted thousands of years. He got rid of feudalism and appointed leaders that would only have power for a few years. The Qin was one of the shortest dynasties in Chinese history, but it had a very large influence on the future.
How did China become the world's oldest continuous civilization? What's a dynasty?
The Great Wall of China began construction during this time.
In an attempt to keep invaders out, he ordered hundreds of thousands of workers to construct a giant wall across China's northern border. This was the beginning of what now is called the Great Wall of China. It was built by peasants, slaves, criminals, and other people that the emperor decided to punish. It is estimated that millions of people worked over the course of 1,000 years. Some scientists think that up to 1 million people died while building it. The Great Wall of China is the longest man-made structure in the world. Yes, very interesting. But what about Shi Huangdi? He was really ambitious. He made an army and started conquering the neighbors, and he made a big empire. He was obsessed with immortality and designed the most extravagant and biggest mausoleum ever to be built. A magnificent army was buried with him.
We don't even know exactly how big this army is because it's so large, people are still finding more of it. So far, more than 8,000 soldiers and 7,000 horses have been found. These were buried with the emperor to protect him in the afterlife.
His legacy has lasted for longer than 2,000 years. He commanded an army to be built and put in his tomb, so when he died, he would have all he needed for the other life. That's what he thought.
This magnificent army is still standing in precise battle formation and is split across several pits.
They also found chariots, horses, and cavalry horses. Close by, even more sites with exotic birds and animal sculptures made of bronze, sculptures of musicians and acrobats, and even a stable. Archaeologists continue to piece together the terracotta warriors and their story. The year, 1974. The place, Xi'an, China. A group of farmers were digging a well when they struck something hard in the ground. They saw parts of a statue that looked like a human. The farmers were startled to see a face staring back at them. They had heard legends from long ago of beings living underground. They didn't know at that time they had uncovered the first emperor's terracotta army.
When he was placed in his tomb, he wasn't alone and took an army of terracotta soldiers with him to protect him in the afterlife. There were literally thousands of them, and his burial complex is the largest in the world. It's believed it took 700,000 people 30 years to complete it, and some suggest it wasn't 100% complete when they needed to use it.
Since the discovery of the first life-size terracotta warrior, archaeologists have unearthed nearly 2,000 of them, and they estimate there are about 8,000 total. They were buried in pits totaling 5 acres. That's nearly 4 football fields. Out of 8,000 warriors, no two were alike. Each had unique facial features and was painted in unique color
Each warrior was painted in bright colors, but their exposure to air caused the paint to dry and flake, leaving only the terracotta base. It is for this very reason that another chamber less than a mile away has not been excavated. This is the actual tomb of Qin Shi Huangdi, reported to contain palaces, precious stones and artifacts, and even rivers of mercury flowing through mountains of bronze. But until a way can be found to expose it without damaging the treasures inside, the tomb remains sealed.
The terracotta army is known as the 8th wonder of the world. These wonderful clay figures had been crushed for over 2,000 years under the ground. Archaeologists and restorers have worked for more than 50 years, putting the pieces together, just like a puzzle. They need to work with the precision of a surgeon to fit the pieces together and have developed their own tools for the restoration of these magnificent works of art. Restoring just one soldier may take more than a year. He was a cruel ruler, but the world will remember him for 2 wonders in China: the magnificent warriors of terracotta and the Great Wall. Next week, we will say goodbye to China. We still need to learn a little more about the building in China, traditional and contemporary. Modern China, the rise of the dragon, or China's transformation in the present. Okay, back to Costa Rica and imagine learning.